I'm not doing this for you. You have to take accountability for your stuff and I'm going to do mine. Communication was key.
Also, individual accountability.
This conversation around prepping and planning just turned into like a marriage counseling session for every married individual listening.
We had our roles and responsibilities laid out from the very beginning, and things worked well. If you are a guy and your partner is on a plan with you, you need to be ready to make some sacrifices as well.
If the average person eats roughly 2,000 calories a day, that means you're going to eat about 720,000 calories a year. So it means that like if you have a day where like you go nuts, your day isn't even a blip on that radar.
It is really weird how Mike, just kind of being a know-it-all on Facebook, actually like changed our lives for the better.
Yeah.
So what I hear you saying is that arguing on the internet works.
It worked one time. It worked one time, and the rest is history.
Welcome to Stronger You Radio with Mike Dola. Join Mike and friends as they discuss issues to keep you healthy, fit, and on track to create a stronger you. Let's listen in now.
What's up, Stronger You fam? Welcome back to another edition of Stronger You Radio. I am Tanner Bays, your host. It's becoming a pretty regular thing for all of you listening at home or in the car or on your commute or wherever the hell you might be listening to know that I am not Mike Dola, but I'll do my best Mike Dola impression through many of these episodes. And in this one, it's a really cool opportunity because we actually get to talk to two of our most popular coaches at Stronger You, who actually started as members, and not only do they share a gym together, but they share a home together. Because today we get to talk to Clark and Rachel Hibbs, who own CrossFit Yellow Rose in the great city of Houston, Texas. I hope everybody listening knows how much it pained me to say that Houston was great. Clark, Rachel, what's up, guys?
What's up?
Not much, just over here doing this podcast thing.
Listen, I appreciate you guys coming on, and this one's really cool because I'm really excited to talk a little bit about how couples can use Stronger You together and really learn from the both of you about how you used Stronger You together, both from the member side whenever you first started, and how that, like, maybe that's changed or your perception of how that has changed, or even just lessons you've learned as you've moved into the coaching side of things. So to kind of get this thing going, can you guys tell me, like, how did you first decide to start Stronger You together? Because you both started at the same time, right?
So I started first. I did a full 12 weeks with a coach before Clark got on board officially. But he did start tracking with me and started to kind of at least track his food. He wasn't maybe hitting certain numbers every day, but he was tracking and actually started losing weight with me on my first 12 weeks.
Yeah, so you were going through the 12, and then I just randomly generated some numbers from some generator online and went, that looks good, and kind of loosely followed it, but didn't exactly strictly follow it. But I still ended up losing 20 pounds in those 12 weeks because I'm a guy and it's easier.
Yeah.
I also had a lot of weight to lose. And then after we took a vacation, we both kind of reset ourselves from vacation and decided we were going back to it. And that's whenever I actually signed up with Coach Josh, and been working with Josh ever since.
I would love to know, like, was it for the both of you, actually, like, was it a weird thing to, like, start a nutrition coaching program? Like, was there, like, a barrier to the idea of joining that at all?
Oh, totally. There was a huge barrier for us because, I mean, we were in the fitness industry. We were coaches. Like, people came to us to help them with their health and fitness, but we didn't really know as much as we needed to in the realms of nutrition to properly help people. I mean, we were in the CrossFit world ever since 2010, 2011. So everything was 30-day paleo challenges and 6-week no sugar challenges and all that unsustainable stuff. And so that's kind of what we thought you had to do to lose weight. And of course you lose weight when you do that stuff, but then it all comes right back on. So for us to actually say, like, hey, we need some actual accountability and some actual structure and some real solid coaching, it took a little bit to get us there.
Yeah, we thought we had it together. I think we both thought we were really fit. We worked out regularly. We were
regularly.
We were strong. But yeah, I think we both kind of hit a reality check one day when we were looking back at honeymoon pictures. And that's when I really realized I wasn't happy with how I felt and may have gained a few pounds on the honeymoon. So was ready to kind of dial in and needed help. That was for sure.
Yeah, that's the big thing that we needed. We needed some clear, unbiased, no nonsense help.
Yeah.
So, like, how did you first find SU? Like, how did it wind up being Stronger You?
Yeah, so I actually am the one who found Stronger You because I was poking around on Facebook and I was trying to learn as much as I could, and I was following Dr. Mike Israel, Dr. Mike from RP. I was reading his Facebook posts, and then I saw this guy named Mike Dola going in and commenting back to a bunch of people who I thought were correct, and he was saying, well, no, it's actually this. He was the actually guy. And it really resonated with me because the stuff that he was saying, it didn't seem unreasonable. Everything that Mike was saying was very simple and real life applicable to the everyday person. I mean, there's obviously the perfect way you can do things, and then there's also the way that it's actually going to get done each day. And in the realms of diet and nutrition and weight loss or anything, it's not necessarily doing it perfectly. It's doing it pretty good every single day. So that way you can be consistent over time. And so started chatting Mike up on Facebook, and he gave me the sales pitch, and I researched online and looked through the website and said, okay, well, these guys don't seem completely full of it. Let's give it a shot. And we jumped in.
So what I hear you saying is that arguing on the internet works.
It worked one time. It worked one time, and the rest is history.
No, that's a really incredible way to like kind of stumble upon this thing and act like stumble upon this thing that like you guys are clearly an integral part of now.
Yeah, it is really weird how Mike just kind of being a know-it-all on Facebook actually like changed our lives for the better.
Yeah.
For a really long time.
I think that's really amazing to hear, just because it's like those things happen a lot, whether we recognize it or not. The funny thing about it is that like being on the internet oftentimes feels just like shouting into the void.
Whenever Dallas people try to say how good Dallas is, it's just,
here we go.
I mean, at least you're in Texas, but you're not like a real city,
Oh, wow. All right. Okay.
Blacked out there. What happened?
So moving on. So, okay. I am genuinely curious because like I think I've coached 10 to 12 different couples that are either married or have been together for a really long time. And it's always like a really fun experience for me because you check in individually, but like there's like shared narratives that go back and forth and everything. But like some of the things that I am just always genuinely curious about that I would love to hear from you guys is like, were there certain challenges as far as like prepping and planning is concerned that y'all ever ran into?
I don't know.
I feel like we're lucky because from the very beginning we sat down and like really I laid things out and was like, I'm not doing this for you. This is, you have to kind of you have to take accountability for your stuff and I'm going to do mine. We kind of made a plan where if I was cooking, he was cleaning, and if I was prepping and I have my meals and he has his meals, and really, I guess communication was key.
Yeah. And communication and also like individual accountability as well.
Yeah.
Like you weren't making my meals. There were, we would bulk meal prep and I would siphon off from that, but still I was weighing and measuring my own stuff.
Right.
It's not like you were.
No, I never once weighed your food for you. I don't think.
No, not once.
Unless I was just, being nice and you were busy or something.
What you do.
What I love about this is like this conversation around prepping and planning just turned into like a marriage counseling session for every married individual listening. So I hope everybody has their notepads out and their pens, and like, if you need to rewind a minute, go ahead.
You did nail it there. It's like we had our roles and responsibilities laid out from the very beginning, and we followed those roles and responsibilities, and things worked well.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah.
So you were clearly obviously responsible for yourself, right? Like this is each individual's journey, and like your goals are your goals. They're not their goals or anything like that. And you also had you had coaches, right? To like guide you along and be that sounding board and the person who could like troubleshoot things. But do you feel like going through this together, like maybe increase the odds that you would see success whenever you first started?
Well, when I did the first 12 weeks, I was by myself. And although I started tracking, eventually, it was nice when he kind of got on board, and he did have to make some sacrifices. I think that is something that we should talk about a little bit. Is he wasn't bringing home the pizza every night, or he tried to kind of meet in the middle, make some compromises.
Yeah, like whenever I wasn't tracking strictly, I was basically doing the whole like Monday through Friday night thing, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday I was doing whatever. And at first it was okay, because I think your motivation was still high, and you were really disciplined with it. But after a while of seeing me pounding a large pizza every Friday night, like that got kind of frustrating.
That could be tempting. Yeah,
it got really frustrating. Yeah. It was one of those conversations where she had the conversation with me, and she said, "Hey, look, I don't care if you eat that stuff while you're not tracking, but it can't be in front of me, and it can't be here. Like, I need that help." And immediately that was, there was no question about it. It was like, okay, cool. I'm just not going to do it. Right? Yeah. It'll be fine. I want to make sure that I'm supportive of you and your goals. And if, there is definitely sacrifices that are made, but that's okay. Like,
I think like that's like a really valuable point, actually. And I think we should probably hammer that a little bit more, because like, I don't know about y'all, but like, I hear this constantly from members that I work with, or see it in the community, or people just interacting on our social media. Like, the challenge that comes with like telling your significant other or a family member, like, hey, it literally doesn't make a difference to me if you like go destroy a pizza every night. Yeah. But it does make a difference whenever it's sitting right in front of me and you're doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, like the temptation for her to say, screw it, I'm going off plan, whenever I'm sitting next to her on the couch with a box of pizza in my lap, like I did all the time. and that's why I'm at Stronger You. That stuff can really wear on the psychological aspect of dieting for you. I mean, because we know that psychological aspects of dieting and nutrition and following a plan are way more difficult than the physical side of things. It's a little bit hungry, but after you just, can sort of build up this resentment of this person's not going through what I'm doing right now. And I would really appreciate it if I had that support. I mean, there needs to be a conversation that happens. And we do see it all the time, and we hear it from our clients that, oh, I wish my husband would do this, or my wife's not on board. She wants to go out to eat all the time, or whatever. Like, conversations have to happen. And
there were definitely times that Clark would get a pizza, even when he was tracking and we were both tracking with Stronger You.
Don't wrap me out, Josh. It never happened. I never did
he
that.
Would order a pizza, and the thing is he can fit pizza into his macros.
Yeah.
I never really could. Maybe one slice, but it's not really worth it at that point. So I would either make my own homemade like flatbread pizza, which Clark refuses to believe is actual pizza.
It's not pizza. Just like cauliflower is a vegetable. Cauliflower is nothing delicious.
Yeah, but there are times that I had to really be disciplined, and and that, again, that's compromise. If he's like, well, I went 3 weeks without having my pizza, I'm going to have a pizza on Friday. And I just kind of had to mentally prepare that I'm going to eat my salad and it's going to be okay, so.
Yeah, but also that it is I think guys need to really listen to this. Like, if you are a guy and your partner is on a plan with you, you need to be ready to make some sacrifices as well. And you just need to absolutely be okay with it, because while it is easy for me to fit in some pizza, it's not good for both of us too. And while that makes me feel like nice and fulfilled, it can be really, really tough for her. And,
right.
If you really do want to support this person, you've got to make those sacrifices. And I couldn't make those sacrifices all the time. Like, there were times whenever she would look at me and say, "Hey, what are you doing? We talked about this." And I went, "Oh, sorry, I'm an idiot," which I say a lot. But, sacrifices need to be made, because honestly, if it comes down to you eating some chicken and mixed vegetables versus you eating a pizza, like, the short term of the pizza is great, but you're always going to be better off eating the chicken and veggies. And just kind of,
so at one point it was probably really cool to be able to feel like I'm going to pick up a pizza on the way home. I'm going to house that thing while I'm sitting in front of the TV, and it's going to be dope. It's going to be the best. And
time.
Dude, it sounds like that's like total me time, right? Like, how amazing is that? But you can't do that forever. And more than that, like, I think one of the things that anybody who has like ever gone through something like this alongside someone else, like, whenever you behave that way and then a conversation happens about that behavior, like, it can be kind of jarring at like the initial point of that conversation, right? Because it's like, damn, I may not have even recognized that what you're saying is totally right. I may not have even known that, like, I am being this negative influence on your behavior just because I had a total blind spot to it.
Well, and you run into the situation where your partner loves you so much and they don't want to feel like they're coming down on you for that. And so they're saying, "No, you can have your pizza. I'll be fine." But at the end of the day, like, you just don't eat the pizza. Like,
right.
Just be a little bit more supportive. Have the same thing as them or something along those lines.
So for anyone listening at home, anyone that's that is in a couple that is thinking about going through this together or is going through this together, would either of you have advice on how to have that conversation? I joked earlier about this being a marriage counseling podcast, but like, I think that's a valuable point. So
how did you start that conversation?
Well,
Rachel.
Yeah. I feel like, most of the time, I feel like it's the women who want to start the change. I'm not saying that's every time, but I do think that I was the one that was like, "Hey, we're not healthy right now. We need to get it together." So I think that's where it starts, is like, "Hey, I need your help."
Yeah.
And not like an attack, like, "You make me eat bad." That's not really the case. I chose to eat bad. I make my own choices, but also I need your help with that. Like, I need your support. And, I think what hit him the hardest probably was with me just saying, "I'm not happy with how I feel in my own body. Like, I need your help to get to the next step."
Mm-hmm.
And that made a big difference.
Yeah. Because as many times as I could say, "I love you no matter what, and I'm always attracted to you, and you always, look amazing to me," if you were saying that you didn't feel happy, like, I felt responsible for that. And as soon as I felt that responsibility, I was like, "Oh, crap." Like, oh man, as the, person in the relationship who just somehow identifies as, I have to protect my wife. I have to protect my family. Like, that isn't just from outside factors. I need to protect us from me sometimes and my,
mm-hmm.
and my bad influences and my bad behaviors, because nobody here is perfect. We all have bad behaviors, but we can change those if we just recognize it and have those conversations. And hearing her say that she needed help, that really hit hard with me, for sure.
I mean, that's such a valuable point. It's something that I think a lot of us whoever attempt something like this and feel like we're going to talk to our partner or whomever about this, like, it might be something that we actually take for granted at times. Like, we start to write our own stories in our head about, like, I'm going through this change, and this person, like, whether they know it or not, is making it a little bit more difficult on me. And if I bring it up to them, they're going to feel like I'm coming down on them, and they're going to feel like I'm trying to, like, make a comment about how they're handling themselves, when in reality, like it's never actually that, right? Like, or maybe sometimes it is, but in reality, it's typically, like you've said, Rachel, like I actually just need help here. And I need you to recognize that, like, you know, we're a team, and I'm like, because I'm your teammate, like I'm like tagging you in. Like I need some assistance here to make sure that I can get through this, because it matters.
Yeah.
Well, and I think like it's a lot like talking about money in your relationship too. Like money can sometimes be this like taboo thing, but really, like if you need to make some changes with that, you just have to have the conversation. You have to, you know, commit together that you're going to make that change. Same thing here with the food. You just have to have that conversation.
Shameless plug for the July book for the Stronger You Book Club July book is I Will Teach You to Be Rich, 2nd edition by Ramit Sethi. So we're working on our fitness and our financial fitness here at Stronger You, and our marital fitness, apparently.
Like one-stop shop here, people.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So are either of you dieting now?
I just finished like a 24-week maintenance mini cut. It was kind of like a mild calorie deficit just to feel good this summer. But it was mild. I wouldn't say it was like a big diet for 24 weeks or anything, but I got finished. I felt really good about being able to, I felt healthy, which is kind of what my goal was during those 24 weeks. But currently I'm not tracking right now.
Yeah, I am. That's a big negative for me, Ghostwriter. I've not been tracking. The only time I've opened up my Fitness Pal is to show people what kind of food they're eating and how high of calories it actually can be. I've been trying to rely mainly on the habits that I've built with working with a coach, and just making sure like that I don't fall into the same traps that I did before, which was, feeling like I needed to be super full at every meal, or feeling like every meal on the weekend needed to be a party and it needed to be this big blowout thing. Like I have to go to this really awesome breakfast and this fancy brunch or lunch, and then you have to go to a nice dinner out or anything like that. Trying to eat intuitively a little bit, but I know that my intuition before got me to the place where I was 260 pounds and waking myself up from sleep apnea every night. But now my intuition is keeping me right just above my maintenance level weight. And, if I want to turn it back on, I can turn it back on pretty easily.
Like, I think that's the real value of tracking for an extended period of time, and like kind of transforming your body and learning about food in the way that tracking teaches you, because it gives you the tools to be it no longer track and just kind of coast through on the habits that you built. Or to Rachel's point, it allows you to like go through kind of like a moderate deficit, but what sounds like a deficit that still allows you to live your life in the way that you want, without it being like this majorly stressful thing. You just have a more implicit understanding of what you're doing and how all of this works together for you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know whenever I start out working with someone who was like us or like me or like, anyone else, we enjoy eating meals out. We enjoy the quick convenience of fast food or anything along those lines. We just have to realize and recognize that is okay, few and far between. But having that be a regular staple of your everyday behavior, not okay.
To me, one of the really interesting things about tracking, and I know you two will get this, like whenever I first started tracking, I was a personal trainer still, like working, like rendering sessions on the floor from morning into evening. And like you pick up a lot of steps doing that, right? Like your NEAT is through the roof. But you start to track and you start to keep on top of like what your weight is every day. And you start to come to understand real fast that just because you're active all day long, like moving around the gym, picking up weights and everything, like that actually doesn't give you the clearance to like go home and eat a double bacon cheeseburger every single night. Because like you haven't actually created that much room. Yeah. It's not there.
What were you saying about we felt like we earned it all the time?
Yeah, I think that's what got us in trouble the first time is at one point, We were working out twice a day. We were following some like pretty hardcore programming.
You know, we were definitely going to the game.
Yeah. We had high hopes at one point. But yeah, so that, I think that's what got us in trouble, is thinking, I mean, we felt like we were working out really hard and then coaching, and we were on our feet I was teaching at the time as well. So I was on my feet all day. So yeah, I thought I could eat whatever I wanted.
I mean, and in our defense, we were working out really hard and we were active all day long. And I was running a gym that wasn't air conditioned in Houston. And it was just, you know, it was just a sweat session 24/7. We ate even harder than we worked out. Like, without question. It was, you know, where can we go? Where can we come and try out these new foods? Because, you know, Houston has the best restaurant scene in Texas out of any city. And so it was always trying to figure out new places to eat. And that stuff adds up quickly. We're just going to move right along. Next question, please.
You know what? Like, in all reality, like, I won't even fight you on that, because like there are enough people who say that I'm going to be like, all right, cool. Like, Austin will take a back seat. That's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. You can have that one.
At least you have nature, so that's cool.
Yeah, we'll give you that.
Oh my God, you're so right. Actually, like, I spent all day Saturday and Sunday in the water. It was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. If we spend all day Saturday and Sunday in the water, we grow a fourth eyeball or something. It's
yeah. Well, I mean, it's what you get. That Houston's a swamp, so it's fair. The gators will get you.
The mutant alligator will get you.
You guys have obviously had like a really interesting journey in that you started on the member side. Whenever you started, like, Stronger You was definitely not what it is now.
I think it had just hit 2,500 members.
Wow. Wow. And for reference, I think we just crossed 17,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's nuts. And, you know, so like you both moved into the coaching side of things. Was that at some point early last year?
January of 2018.
January?
Yeah. Okay.
2018.
Okay. You know, like, you guys have had like a really interesting way to like look at this and not only watch Stronger You evolve, but like see things from a really unique point of view. So I would just genuinely love to know, from either your experience as a member or your experience as a coach, like, are there certain things that you feel like you notice couples who are on Stronger You together struggle with, or like some consistent roadblocks that seem to show up for those individuals?
One thing I think I hear a lot is women getting frustrated not seeing the scale move. I think it's like a joke, but also very serious as well.
Yeah.
I think Clark lost how many pounds during my first 12 weeks?
So during her first 12 weeks, where she was tracking very, very strictly, and I was being very, very loose, I lost 25 pounds.
Yeah. And I was really struggling to lose, 8. I think I lost 8 pounds, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's hard. It's frustrating when, guys can diet for a week and be down 10 pounds. Like, you kind of want to murder them. So that's always something I hear a lot. I think I'm working with several wives where Clark is working with the husbands, and I get a lot of that. And I think it's funny, but also it's a real thing.
It's obviously because I'm the superior coach, clearly. I'm just kidding. That is sort of frustrating, and I have to tell the guys, like, hey, cool, keep your weight to yourself this week because we don't want this to get angry. But I like to tell people that if you look at what a guy has lost and what a girl has lost, usually, like, Rachel lost 8 pounds, I lost 25. If you multiply hers by 3, it's going to be about the same. So if she would have had 24 pounds, me 25, that would have been pretty much it. There's just, the ratio is just going to be so different. 20 pounds lost on a female is going to look like 60 pounds lost on a male. And we also have to realize that every individual is different. And so you just can't compare yourself to them, especially whenever you are wildly different people.
Yeah. That's such a classically hard thing to remember in this world, because it's so easy to fall into that trap of like, what the hell? You thought about losing weight and you woke up yesterday and you were down 10 pounds. Like, that's not cool. That's frustrating. Right. And then like we struggle to remember that like, oh wow, like 8 pounds on a female might actually represent like a much greater percentage of weight loss than 25 pounds on someone like Clark.
Yeah, that's a much better way to put it. Is percentage of total body weight for sure.
Yeah.
I was just like, objectively, I weighed 120 pounds more than her. Like, I was a lot heavier.
Like we all forget that like we all have we just have a lot of room to pull from, but some of us don't have near as much room to pull from. And especially on the female side of things, like, to me, it's like once we get into like any number that starts in the 130s, like things start to get really interesting to me from both the coaching side and the experience side, because it's like, it's almost like things start moving so much slower. And because there's just so much less weight to pull from. And now it's like 1 pound down makes up such a great percentage of weight loss that like we often forget that you have to work really damn hard to lose that 1 pound, and like, don't diminish that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a female client right now who, trying to lose a 0.5% of her body weight means that as long as the scale goes down like a quarter pound average throughout the week, we're super happy. Like,
yeah.
A quarter pound, that is really hard to realize whenever you're day in and day out weighing yourself. But I think the biggest thing that I see whenever I work with couples is varying levels of dedication and motivation when we get to the end of the week. So, because a lot of times what we see with the people that we work with is we see very driven individuals and we see very hardworking individuals. And it's just inherent that we're all going to work extremely hard Monday through Thursday, right? Like, that's just how the work week has conditioned us. And and that's why everyone loves a 3-day weekend, because you finally get to you get to Friday and you're like, oh, I don't have to work and I still have a little bit of energy. This is great.
Yeah.
And then we get to the end of the week, and depending on who's had a tough week or who's had emotionally testing weeks or hard times at work, it's very simple for the, husband to say, hey, I'm over this right now. I just want to go out and have a drink and have a good time. Whereas, the partner will be fully committed and fully in, and they say, well, no, we're on this, we're doing this thing together. Like, we need to stick to it. That can be pretty tough. I still think, weekends are tough for everyone. It's still really, really tough whenever you have someone else with you. And it can also be tough whenever that person is is feeling the same way as well.
Yeah, we can definitely influence each other. I may like want to be really diligent on the weekend, but I'm exhausted, maybe had a really stressful week. And then Clark mentions pizza, and I'm immediately, triggered. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that would be really nice. And then we kind of, go downhill together. So that can be an issue.
Boy, like what a rabbit hole to kind of go down to, because like
we could talk about this for hours.
That certainly can be an issue, but it's also like important to recognize like where we're at that moment in time, like, because for the both of you at this point, like I would certainly say that like if you came home on like a Saturday, like let's say Clark went out and shot a 94 and he blew it up and he was just playing terribly.
Find me,
and he was like, yeah, he was like, I like just, and like Rachel had a stressful day or a stressful week, and like pizza gets brought up, like, at that moment in time, like pizza probably sounds awesome, but you're also at a point like in your development where like a day of doing that isn't really the thing that's going to like ruin all of your hard work.
No, we're definitely not trying to demonize pizza, because pizza is amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah. And we've worked hard enough to be at a place where we can have pizza and not feel bad about it, and work it into our, our week where it's not going to do any damage. So,
yeah. And I also think we've perfected the art because I do think it's an art, maybe even a skill, of having a quote unquote off-plan meal or having a bad meal and then waking up the next day and getting right back to it. Right.
How do you think you perfected that?
By cutting off some of the emotion behind food.
Okay.
So, because I think so many people just feel like food provides them so much comfort and so much stability, and it does. I mean, we don't need to try and say that food doesn't have emotional values to it. I mean, there's a reason everything you do with loved ones is centered around food. But whenever it's just you guys doing the same thing over and over again, it's pretty easy for us to say, okay, like this is what happens a lot of times whenever we go into a bad meal. All right, we're going to do pizza or we're going to do fast food or whatever. And then tomorrow morning, we're right back on plan. You know, we kind of go in with those expectations where we're just going to get right back to it and everything's going to be fine. I tell this to my clients all the time. All we have to do is get right back on the train and we'll continue to move forward. And I think we've done a really good job of learning that. But I also think we've earned that too, since we did try diligently for so long.
And I feel like not feeling bad about it is really important.
Oh, yeah.
So like if I'm going to feel bad about something, then maybe I shouldn't have the pizza if there's going to be this massive guilt after eating it. I think the guilt and feeling like you've sabotaged, I think that's the issue. And then the next day you still feel bad about it. You're like, well, I've ruined everything. And you have this, massive breakdown. It's like this all or nothing mentality, which is kind of what we had before starting Stronger You. It was like we were all in on a certain 30-day diet, and it was super restrictive. And then afterwards, it was like completely the other end of the spectrum.
Gangbusters.
So, like, going out every night and back to the alcohol immediately. There was no happy medium. So I think having the pizza on occasion or having an off meal, enjoying it, not feeling bad about it, and knowing that, it's part of the balance. I think that's key.
I'm glad to hear you both kind of echo the sentiment that like you earn the right to get there, because I think one of the things that is just easily forgotten anytime somebody goes through something like this is that, getting to the place that you are both describing right now does not happen in week 1. And for some, it might happen in week 6. For others, it might happen in week 60. Like that doesn't come overnight, but it does almost come like a light bulb moment. You just have to be willing to keep chipping away and keep punching the clock and showing up. And then one day, like, it just dawns on you that you're like, oh, hot damn. Like, I guess I actually have the skill set to like beneath me now to like get back on point. Who the hell am I? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, or I'd love to know your thoughts on this. But do you think that a lot of people, this is a question for you, Tanner, I'm flipping the script on you.
Cool.
Do you think that some people, we just put a little bit too much emphasis on food and that we let food control our lives too much?
Yeah, most definitely. I couldn't possibly agree more with you. I think like it's culturally ingrained and to like varying degrees of importance, right? Like for about 2.5 years, whenever I lived in Atlanta, I dated a girl whose parents owned a Mediterranean restaurant, and like one of the highest rated Mediterranean restaurants in the city. And like food in that family and in all of that setting, it was such an interesting thing to me because like sitting down to have a meal was sitting down for a 3-hour ordeal. And it was like but more than that, like turning anything down was like a sign of offense. Like that is not okay. And that is not allowed. And in so many ways, it actually felt like being back at my great grandparents or my grandparents. And that like, there's such an emphasis and importance placed on food and what it means to people that might be serving us or inviting us into their home or anything like that, that like, we feel a lot of pressure to like, let me adhere to what you want me to do. Like, yeah. I'm not trying to, let me please you. I don't want to disappoint you. I don't want to open up this can of worms. And, I think like one of the really challenging things for a lot of people to do is leave that mindset at the door whenever they leave one of those settings. Because when we're in our own home or whenever we're with like our very close family or our very close friends, like we should all hopefully feel comfortable enough in our relationships to know that like that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Like now, like I'm in my home, I can absolutely just go eat this 6 ounces of chicken and like I'll pick up the sides and whatever I want later on. Like I'm just hungry and need to snack right now. It doesn't need to be this like gigantic ordeal that I sit down and I eat and eat and eat and eat until I'm stuffed because I'm trying to please somebody else.
Right. And like what you were saying about women feeling like they like have to be on a diet or something like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We talked about how before I started Stronger You, I felt like I was always on a diet where I was constantly, it was a yo-yo thing where you're constantly trying to lose weight, then you're gaining it back, and then you're losing it. It's just felt like this constant thing. But one thing I felt really successful with Stronger You is when I did a maintenance phase and finally for once learned how to maintain my weight loss and also feel happy with where my body was. And that may have not been my leanest state. Like this last few sessions I did, I definitely am not as lean as I was the first time I did Stronger You, but I'm happy with that. I'm happy with where I'm at. And it's okay not to always be trying to get to that leanest, place.
I think you look great.
You're both adorable. I actually think it's so valuable that you literally just said that, because I think something people get backwards around going into maintenance all the time is they think that like, I'm going to go into maintenance and I am going to exist at this low point that I ended at. Like I'm going to exist with abs that like I could sell my washing machine because I have a washboard on my stomach now and like I'm good. Like that's not how it works. Like that's not how any of this works.
I wish.
I don't like giving Derek Stanley any credit, mainly because he's from Dallas and he's a Cowboys fan.
Back off. Watch it. I hate Derek too, but come on now.
He's said, hey, I'm a Texans fan. You can just let me say whatever I want and just wait till we blow up again. But he said something along the lines of, right before the finish line is probably where you're happiest.
Yeah.
And that was definitely the case for me. I mean, I went from 260 down to 186 or 187 or something like that. It was real lean. It was real lean. And I wasn't happy again until I started living at 200, 205. So that helped me out a lot going back into maintenance and pumping up those calories and having a little bit more flexibility in my life.
And unless you're like genetically gifted with awesome abs, which most people aren't, it's really hard to sustain that lean place. Especially women, I feel like. Yeah, no, it is. And it's, like it's hard for so many reasons. Like we know it's hard for like physiological reasons. Like you need a certain amount of body fat to like for hormone production to function. And so your brain can like actually do its job on a daily basis. But it's hard from a psychological standpoint, especially if like success to someone is defined as like the low number on the scale or like the 4 abs or the 6 abs that they see. What someone might not realize is that like in chasing that, like that metric or whatever, like every other aspect of your life is now like abject misery. And like that's like nobody wants that. Yeah, I hear a lot. Like I feel really great. I'm fitting into I'm fitting into smallest clothes I've in years. I feel great, but I still have 5 pounds to lose. And I'm like, what? Who told you have 5 pounds to lose? Where did that come from? Well, that was my goal, and so I want to hit it. I'm like, but you feel great. You look good. Clothes, you feel confident. What is the point of losing 5 more pounds? Like,
please let me give you more calories.
Please let me be the macro fairy and let's do some maintenance.
Yeah, because it's also like it's like wisdom is understanding that like, okay, having a goal is one thing, but like being able to have the perspective to know that like I was chasing this goal, and in chasing this goal, I made myself unhappy, or I realized that like maybe along the way a new goal showed up, and maybe that goal actually looked a lot like, you know what, I'm really good with where I'm at. Now let me learn how to stay here. And
or maybe life events show up, and being strict with your macro counting and your weighing isn't going to happen. And so you're going to have to put that a little bit on the back burner and go into some life-induced maintenance.
Yeah, and recognizing that like that doesn't make anybody a failure, right? Like it instead, what it makes you is mature and understanding, and it like really puts you one step closer to like mastery, right? Like being able to recognize like, okay, this is just not for me right now. Like I actually had an exchange with one of my clients this morning where like she had recently just come back and was looking to drop like 5 to 10 pounds. And then it's like life has just has like pushed her down a hill and then like jumped off the top rope to bring the people's elbow down. And like, it just like keeps hitting her with stuff. And she actually sent me a message this morning and was like, you know, I think actually like the rest of this summer, I'm just going to be in maintenance if that's cool with you. And I was like, that's incredible. Why? I hope you share this with everyone I have ever worked with. Like, here's their emails. Go do it.
Yeah. Like we as coaches, we don't care what you do.
We're here to make sure that you're I'm constantly saying, hey, if you're happy, I'm happy. Like there's no need to apologize if, you know, you had a tough week. And, you know. So.
Like a tough week and what like marks someone's journey. That's actually like something that we all have in common.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Tough days, tough weeks. We can all empathize with that. And, you know, I don't think there's a single coach that hasn't had a meal out with friends where they went, you know what, the time with these friends are more important and we go for it. You know,
right.
They're not doing that they're not doing that day after day, week after week. But if it happens once a month, like that if you zoom out, that one day, that one meal isn't going to have that much of an effect. So let's not worry about it. Let's just get back to it.
I've worked this out a long while back. I'm pretty sure if the average person eats roughly 2,000 calories a day, that means you're going to eat about 720,000 calories a year.
Yeah.
And so it means that like if you have a day where like you go nuts and like let's say you really go nuts and you like put down 4,000, 5,000 calories a day, like if you blow it out to the year, like your day isn't even enough to qualify as a blip on that radar.
Right.
Like it's like in the grand scheme of a year, it's not even a bump that you really recognize. You know, so like don't beat yourself up for it. It's whatever.
Yeah, and you know, tying it back to the couples thing too. Like if you know that your significant other, like they had some work lunch thing and it got out of control and things happen, like you can be there to help them say like, hey, it's okay. Let's just get back to the next one.
Yeah.
Not letting them continue that lunch into a snack, into a dinner, into a late night Uber Eats call. Like you can be there to help support them. It's totally fine.
And you know what's funny is like whenever you do like start to hone that skill set of like being able to bring yourself back in check, like the funny thing to me is that like, you know, give it maybe 48 hours and you don't even like feel or really even notice what happened. Like whenever you did like go off plan or whatever it was, like that sort of, it feels so far in the past because you probably like stacked a bunch of good decisions on top of each other again. You're probably back to doing what you know how to do. Like it feels so far in the past that you're like, it starts to lose its hold over you.
Yeah.
I so appreciate you guys coming on here and talking through everything, from marital counseling to your journeys up to this point. Is there anything else that you think we may not have covered that like you would think is like a valuable take-home point for any couples that might be listening or anything like that?
Yes. Gentlemen, you can cook. You know how to cook. If you can read, you can cook. It's not the end of the world. Okay? All it's going to take is a little bit of time and you'll be fine. So don't feel like you have to rely on someone else to do your cooking.
That's a really valuable one. Plus, cooking is fun.
Well, I mean, if it comes down to you getting in your car and driving somewhere to get something versus you just firing up a pan and throwing a piece of chicken on it and flipping it after 5 minutes, like, come on, man, you can do it.
Right.
I wouldn't say Clark ever thought it was fun, but
No,
he can do it.
I enjoy grilling because I like the ritual of grilling, like getting my music set up and just like time outside and whatnot. That's really fun for me.
Bro sesh.
Yeah, it's like my own personal bro sesh. But the idea of like making a sauce or entering a recipe, like, oh God, no, I don't like it.
Fair, but like, let's also admit, like, grilling is actually an easy way to like bulk prep protein and vegetables.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it tastes great.
It tastes great.
It does.
At the end of the day, if I do need to cook a meal inside, like, I can throw ground beef into a pan and then wait till it looks cooked. Like, it's not
rocket science.
It's not hard.
Yeah. It's not
using cooking as an excuse, and don't add that pressure to your significant other that they have to cook for you. You're an adult. You can do it.
Ooh.
Oh, bringing in the tough love at the end.
Bringing in the heat.
What about you, Rachel? You got any heat you want to drop on people before we get out of here?
Oh, we're laying down diss tracks now.
Just being open and, communication is key. I think talking a lot. We talk a lot. Clark probably loves it. But I think it's important. And,
it is.
Oh, yeah, he does like to talk. Y'all haven't noticed.
Have you listened to this podcast? I like to talk a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe making meal prep, that can be fun if you make it, a team effort. I really liked that you said this was a team effort, and that is how it feels with us. And I think that's why we were successful together. So that's what I would say.
For all of you listening, I hope that your notepads are filled. Clark and Rachel, like we said, two of our most popular coaches. And if you're ever in Houston, I don't know why you would go to Houston, but their gym is worth checking out. It's CrossFit Yellow Rose. I'll just take a chance to get in a dig at Houston anytime I can. No, but really, guys, thank you so much for coming on here. I really do appreciate it. I think this one's going to be a banger. I think there are going to be a lot of people that really feel like whether or not they're in a relationship and working on this sort of thing or just flying solo, there's a lot of golden takeaways here that I think anybody could use.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you're both so welcome. Seriously. And Stronger You fam, hope it's been a good one. Keep your eyes peeled. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode.
Stronger You Radio is a broadcast wellness production powered by StrongerYouFit.com. Content copyright Stronger You. Executive producer Frank Sardella. Thanks for listening to Stronger You Radio. For more information on the podcast, visit StrongerYouPodcast.com.